Whew, man. After a very long stint with the Ultramarines, I can say that it is great to be finally reviewing the Horus Heresy line of action figures, especially my favorite Legion, which is the Alpha Legion. The action figures that have been released for this particular faction have been a cut above the rest of the action figures that have come out before it. However, our time with the Alpha Legion is sadly coming to an end. But let's not dwell on the sad part. Instead, let's focus in on the Exodus, who is the one-man precision scalpel.
Holy cow, there should be no excuse for the Exodus to miss any shot due to the number of arrays that he is rocking on this helmet. It's interesting to me that the main lens has this sort of gem-like effect, which is a fantastic look. There is a cornucopia of detail on this helmet, and JoyToy/GW really took this action figure to the next level, or even levels beyond. Instead of the regular crest, you've got a serpentine head. Oh yeah, if you're casually just dropping in, please hit that subscribe button, because apparently around 70% of you are not subscribed to this channel, and I would have to say you are making Alfarius very, very unhappy. So, like I said, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make your Primarch the happiest Primarch that has ever lived. So anyways, sadly the pauldrons are partially obscured by the voluminous cape that this character is rocking, so the designs unfortunately don't get to 100% shine. So this left pauldron has a fantastic light blue three-headed Hydra, which obviously fits the overall aesthetic of this character. Then on the opposite side, you have these nice chains that really flow with the overall detail of this figure. I think, however, these big brown blocks are rather annoying and detract a bit from the character of this action figure, but sadly, these are the attachment points for the cape, so I suppose there is really nothing that we can do about it. Arms-wise, he has a very prominent instrument panel, which is different from the rest of the Marines. And I know that I don't really comment on hands very often, but this one is really great in that we have one that is made to hold or balance a gigantic sniper rifle. Ah yes, I cannot get enough of the Hydra scales that are center stage on this action figure. They look positively fantastic, and it never gets old to me seeing this scale armor. I also like this gunmetal outlining, especially the one that looks like a serpent's fang right here. There is obviously a bandolier that the sniper is rocking, and the chains are actually made of a really flexible plastic, as you can see. You've got a nice tasting of crack, and what I'm assuming are venom sphere grenades. I originally thought that this bandolier was one solid piece of plastic, but it looks like it actually terminates at the back of the figure, which I would have preferred if this thing was just one solid piece. The belt buckle, or the UFC Championship belt, boasts the same Hydra logo that is found on the pauldron. This cloth tabard here is really nice looking with some highlights on the peaks of the cloth. Next to that, as I'm a knife fan, I do appreciate this wicked looking power dagger that you can remove from the belt and also unsheath. The look of this power dagger is rather plain looking, but it is more about function over form, right? Next to that are more grenades, along with these leather pouches that have a good amount of texturing on them, as well as a slight smattering of shading. The manly legs of this action figure does not disappoint either. I think that on this particular side of the thigh, perhaps the Marine is carrying extra rounds for a sniper rifle. Then obviously the lower shin area is covered in Hydra scales with more delicious gunmetal outlining. Aside from that, there's really nothing to say about this region, which isn't a terrible thing because these legs look so damn sexy. Moving on to the backside, we have a massive cape that dominates the whole entire back of the action figure. You can tell that there are some highlights at the peaks of the cloth, but I just wanted to comment to you the magnificence of this cape due to all of the ridging and texturization right here. And this is the view of the front side of the cape. With regard to the backpack, I appreciate that it is multicolored. It definitely is a better look than the solid piece of near monotone armor that most of the modern 40K Marines are rocking. The biggest change, however, is the presence of this communications antenna and these gigantic targeting arrays. Speaking of which, you can rotate this array, however the range of motion is restricted by the hoses that are attached to the back of the array. Alright, moving on to the sniper rifle, or otherwise known as the instrument. Hands down, I love the look of this rifle. The compensator at the end of the rifle looks realistic. I always appreciate the brushed gunmetal of the barrel of the gun. Then you will notice that, surprise, surprise, there is highlighting that dominates the body of the gun, which is incredible because we don't get to see that effect very often in weapons anymore. This magazine right here is removable, which is really nice because it adds to the realism of this rifle. Finally, I do like the three-headed Hydra design at the end of the stock, along with this bolt action aesthetic. And I also wanted to mention to you that the front side of the scope is colored, as well as the eye side, which is fantastic. Regarding movement, due to the way that this cape is actually attached to the figure, unfortunately there are movement restrictions for it. You can try to rotate this arm 270 degrees, but not the full 360 because of the way that this cape is attached, and I'm actually straining to get this at 270. However, I don't believe that you'll actually need the extra 90 degrees this way because the arm never really bends back. And now we have size comparison time. It appears that this Exodus is quite a bit taller than your regular version 3 intercessor. In fact, he's even taller than Titus over here, which is a version 4 figure. He is no question taller than Dynat, and interestingly enough, he is actually the same height as a Cataphracti Legion Praetor Terminator, even though that he is in regular power armor. Consequently, he is going to be taller than the Relic Secundus Space Marine 2 Marine, and interestingly enough is the same height as Marneus Calgar.
You know, I'm just gonna get this off my chest right away. Now that JoyToy has made this fantastic Exodus action figure, where the hell are my goddamn eliminators? And at this point in time, there is no excuse for not making those eliminators because we pretty much have an eliminator right here. Sorry to get sidetracked, but focusing in back on this action figure, this once again is a stellar example of a figure from the Alpha Legion line. In fact, I would have to argue this perhaps could be the premier #1 action figure that I would recommend for you to buy for the Alpha Legion line of action figures. Obviously, Alfarius is one of the first ones that I would recommend you to buy, but this guy is a cut above the rest. I believe that this action figure is yet another contender for the action figure of the year. So even if, to be honest, you're not an Alpha Legion fan, I would highly encourage you to pick this action figure up. And where should you pick this action figure up? Well, I would recommend you to David Toys. Just click in the link in the description below, or you will be brought to their fantastic website. They have a great UI where you can find your action figures through the search button, and I would have to say that I use them also to actually time my purchases because they actually let you know when these action figures are going to be released, so that is another advantage. And speaking of another advantage, do not forget to use my affiliate code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase, just because, well, money saved puts you at a greater advantage. So members of the chapter, again, let me know what your thoughts on this action figure is, especially you Alpha Legion enjoyers. Do you agree with my assessment that this could be the most top tier action figure, aside from Alfarius, that JoyToy has produced for the Alpha Legion? I would like for you to leave a comment in the comment section. So sadly, the last review of the Alpha Legion line of Horus Heresy action figures will be the Headhunters, so look forward to that in a coming video. So members of the chapter, thank you so much for your likes, comments, and subscribes. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.